And we're live. Welcome to Brandon Spine Group Live. As always, I'm Dr. Rad. It's a pleasure to get to do this show every Tuesday and Thursday. But before we get into it, I do want to tell you we are going to be moving the time of Brandon Spine Group Live to still be Tuesdays and Thursdays, but we are going to move it to 7 p.m. We're going to move it back in the day just based on some feedback from the audience. We want to make the show as open and accessible to as many people as possible. And we're also, always taking feedback and trying to see what we can do better. So go ahead, hit us up in the comments. Welcome to the show. Let us know that you're here. You could say hi. Just tell us who you are, where you're from. If you got questions, post them in the chat for us. We'll answer them. I'm joined today by my good friend, Mike, who deployed together with me to Afghanistan back in 2010. We're going to get into all about getting back to head traumas and what life after military service is like, dealing with the head trauma and the recovery from that process. So really today's going to be a fun episode. I'm really looking forward to getting into it. Again, we're always listening to the feedback of all of you out there in the audience about what you want to hear about, how you want to hear about it. And so you might notice that over the next couple weeks, sort of the form and format of BSG Live might change a little bit to try to make things as engaging and interesting as possible for everyone. So really, just welcome to the show. We hope you have a great time with us for the next hour or so while we're live. And before we bring our guest Mike in, I just want to say, don't forget, today is Giving Tuesday. And Brandon Spine Group Live is made possible by nonprofit organizations. So we rely on the support of all of you watching the show, supporting our organization in order to keep doing what we're doing. So if you want to support us on this Giving Tuesday, there's really no better day to do it. You can head over to the web address down below at the bottom of the screen, neurosurgerytraining.org/donate. You can leave a monthly gift. You can leave a one-time end-of-year gift and get your tax deduction. Whatever you need to do, we appreciate it. If you can't afford to donate, just go ahead and keep tuning into the stream because even that helps us and we really appreciate it. So now that I've kind of rambled about all the housekeeping, let's go ahead and bring in Mike. Mike, welcome back to the show. How you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. So obviously you were one of the first guests we had on the show. I guess going back about 3 weeks or so now. Unfortunately, right, that show got cut short because of some technical difficulties. Actually led to us changing the entire software platform that we use to host our live stream. Thank you to Restream for getting us set up with a much better platform that allows us to bring guests in. This is not a stream sponsored by Restream, but we do use their software. We do love the experience. So if you're out there, you're listening, Restream, you want to sponsor us, go ahead, give us a thumbs up and hit us up. We'd be more than happy to work with you. But my shameless plug aside, welcome back to the show, Mike. I'm sorry you got kind of some technical difficulties that kicked you off last time. It is what it is, but hopefully we'll have a good conversation today. But because we sort of had this prior conversation that we started and just sort of got cut off, why don't we just dive right back in? Because I feel like we left so many people in suspense with sort of where things got cut off, right? We spent time catching up on life and talking about the deployment, and we were really getting into the important stuff, right? Like what the struggles that you've had personally recovering from brain trauma, especially brain trauma from a blast injury, which we've discussed is a little bit different than, sort of like a motor vehicle collision brain trauma. It's, so let's just go rather than, beat around the bush talking about all kinds of other stuff and catching up on life. Let's just get right back to that. What are the challenges of recovering and, from this type of injury? How are you struggling to sort of adapt and overcome?
A long road to adapt. When I first got went through all the hospital back in the States. Just I dealt with was one was unexplained problem. I'd go try to do work. I get like tunnel vision or one eye
Mm-hmm.
to dress with my my neurotrauma. A lot of them just started off with pawning it off on like some other like specialist, the sleep
Mm-hmm.
person, or you need to go see. But the struggle I had to deal with was just accept the same way I was fight. So,
Mm-hmm.
just again, being able to be like do the same things I used to, make map and everything like that, and it was just balance issues, freaking different stuff like that, like like random fall in a hole, like go down. There's just a lot of stuff like that and memory issues I'm with.
Mm. What's been the hardest part? Has it been more the physical changes to your body? Has it been more emotional, psychiatric?
I'd say
What's been like the hardest part of it all?
accepting it,
Accepting it.
accepting it, and then there's like like your wife or anything like that to see you as the same person you were from coming back. It was everybody just acted like, but they get mad why I was so it wasn't like very what was going on.
Mm-hmm. Who's like your best support in recovery or in this path of recovery? Because is this a fair assessment to say like you're kind of with an injury as severe as yours, you're just in this constant state of recovery. You never really feel like you've
Yeah,
achieved recovery.
your recovery, all you can really do and how to live with it. Honestly, like bad, but it's like I never really had coming dealing with my injury or anybody. Like we talked before, Floyd with went back. If it wasn't really accepting of it, just understand what it, everybody here's the injury, whatnot, but they so they had to just keep on fighting and pushing until I found myself to making it better. You're explaining to your spouse, how do you expect her to support? So that's where that's too was, what I'm going through or dealing with, no one around me under a medical background.
So do you feel like having that access to what we call kind of on the professional side of it, you typically refer to as like medical literacy, like how well do you understand basically what a doctor's saying to you? Like when if a doctor speaks to you and like doctor speak and they don't translate, the patient's ability to understand what they're saying. It's kind of what we refer to as like medical literacy of a patient. So you found, if I'm understanding correctly, you found that like having that advocate with a good degree of medical literacy to help you understand has been challenging.
Oh yeah, for sure. Nobody actually like the naval medicine that I've places not one person what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Symptoms. This is how was it, you know, right? Just like any I've ever had to deal with was, you know, this is what we're gonna do. Down and been like, hey, this is what it's with, and I know they time because right when we came back around, we just started building your battalion.
Mm-hmm.
It's all like accommodations for type of disability or and, and squad base, you know, with everybody was just on a freaking.
Hmm. So have you ever seen like a neuropsychologist?
Well, I have not.
Yeah. Well, I just did a great interview. Is I personally had um really no experience with neuropsychologists, clinically speaking, right? I had not really worked with any, but I was connected with one of the neuropsychologists at Cornell through, some professional contacts. And, she had some really interesting things to say. And, we ended up doing a live stream where, I kind of sort of interviewed her a little bit live, but some of it we had discussed previously. And I was just fascinated by the fact that how well they exist in the realm of the unknown clinically, right? And I think that's something that really, in my experience, just my limited experience in clinical work, is doctors. It makes a big difference, I think, between how a doctor relates to a patient with how well they are or how comfortable they are operating in the unknown. And when I say operating in the unknown, I don't mean a surgeon physically operating in some unknown part of the body, right? But how do you, patients turn to us as physicians looking for like you're like a guide, right? You're like a wilderness guide, is kind of how I think the best way to put it. Right? In many ways, as physicians, we don't know what's out there, right? We know that we're going to embark on this journey. It's going to be a journey that we take with you. And some journeys we take are more predictable than others, but there's some degree of unknown in any wilderness excursion, if you will. And I think some physicians are very good at explaining that dynamic to their patient and basically saying, like, we're going to encounter things that I don't know. I'm going to help you navigate it, and we're going to keep moving forward together. And that's an important part of communicating with your patients. Helping patients feel at ease with this unknown scenario. And so going back to my interview with Dr. Sachs, I thought that the way it seems so comfortable with dealing with the unknown with patients was how she approached it is great, right? She doesn't make things up. She doesn't BS her way through things that she's not certain about. She just acknowledges that, we can't explain this. And we can't explain why you are experiencing what you're experiencing. Now, obviously, that's not 100% true statement for everything that you personally are saying you've experienced. But the most important thing is staying focused on moving forward. Did anybody ever come alongside of you in your, this journey of recovery and just say hey, let's figure out how to move forward, even if we can't explain this or that?
Not really one person that ever, hey, you just need to keep. It was more or less that ditch once I hit point and was like, so I was chasing. What came first the rooster or the egg, whole recovery process. I was trying to find out how to fix, period, because I mean, as you know, as we're supposed to fix everything, you know, whatever problems are on, you know, is you get a inject, whatever, you know, you get a case. I don't know what's wrong with it at first, and into it, and what it is, I'm gonna fix it.
Mm-hmm.
I jumped in with that mentality. You know, I kept chasing the freaking that never was. I was never gonna be able to know where it was like, oh, I'm gonna fix myself. I'm gonna every doctor, every person I could see outside of the VA. Never realized this is something that you know, and I had to. But the whole thing is, you know, what you this is what you have to carry with. So you have to carry it with now, and now I got to freaking push forward and figure out based on what you have. So pretty much what I did ended up reaching out to a bunch of different for some veterans and try to reroute from. You know what? This is what I'm still dealing with after. What can I do to make it right now? So if it was to get into that point, have that guidance to be like, hey, you know, no matter what, right now, let forward and making sure it stays better than the last. You know, it wasn't just these pills and like, you know, giving you one good example that I had when I was still was, and it was for memory stuff and to whatnot, but iPad and to help you with your memory stuff. Well, no, I'm left. You know, it wasn't actually like you could think through your recovery, and I didn't find that from any other, you know, and that's what I had was recovery, or at least to the point, you know, treading water and
I think we're having a little bit of a connection issue, Mike. You want to see if just turning the video off, maybe you get at least your audio be a little clearer. Might kind of help people hear your conversation a little bit. I'll let you tinker with that for a second. I'm gonna go ahead. I do want to say hi to our good friend Ryan is in the chat watching on Facebook Live. Thanks for joining us, and you know, we really appreciate you watching the first video. We hope that you know, you enjoyed it as much as we did. We're having fun doing these shows, and yeah, these are important issues. That's why we're doing this. I think that you know, I personally am extremely blessed to have been put in the position after getting out of the Marine Corps to go into medicine and become a doctor. And when I looked around, I realized that, you know, the people that I really personally felt strongly about using my position to help or veterans. You know, I don't think it's a coincidence that my interests as a researcher and a physician are in head trauma and spinal cord injury. And right now, obviously, a big topic of conversation between myself and Mike, even both on stream and off stream, is really asking ourselves this question. Okay, Brain and Spine Group is a nonprofit organization. We're committed to improving brain and spine health for veterans. Now, the real question is the real conversation about that is now having those conversations with veterans, the loved ones of veterans, spouses, families, children, people who've seen and been around recovering veterans that can help identify this is what we needed. This is what we wish we had, but we were never able to do. And developing services using our platform as a nonprofit organization to help veterans. So that's an issue that's near and dear to my heart. It's a big reason why I wanted to start this live stream, because rather than our nonprofit organization just kind of being holed up doing what we do, I really wanted to put ourselves out there. I wanted to find people that needed to hear from us. All right, let's see. We have Mike's audio back on. Are you with me, Mike?
I'm here.
All right, let's try. We can, here we go. We can still give you some real estate on the screen so people know you're here. So let's see. Where did we leave off? We were talking about your path to recovery and the people that were really, that you've relied on, and the importance of finding that place where you really had to just say, the next day is going to be better than the last.
Yes, sir.
What are some things, like what are you finding helps you make the next day better than the last when, in this path of recovery with the TBI?
What drives me is, refining your purpose, finding what you're going to do with your life. Just generalizing. Every veteran deals with that. Just finding that energy to keep going. Because after that, you get burned down and told that you're not going to be able to stay in the military like that, and you're just like, you're just stuck. What the rest of my life's going to be like? Your appointments, and that's about it. Finding that drive, that's so, because that's who you sign up for the Marine Corps.
What kind of things give you that drive in your life? Like, what kind of things motivate you?
Well, motivate any chance I get to help other veterans. If I see a veteran that's, so I get to like guide to maybe connect those dots to them, having to try to find them out themselves, finding out those dots, those connections. This works for me. Shot to make your life, a little bit down. I'll find different ways. I know a great organization. It's called the Dark Horse Lodge right now. It's a
Dark Horse. What's it called?
It's called. It was in honors of Alex Catherwood, the KIA in Afghanistan. We were literally right out of Afghanistan. And
their website?
Unit Lodge.
What's the website?
Else.
Did you say Dark Horse? Dark Horse Bar?
There is a lodge.
Oh, no. Lodge? Dark Horse Lodge?
Yeah.
Let me see. Combat Veteran Retreats. Huh. Let's pull this up. Here we go. Is this them? Peaceful retreat for combat veterans. Seems like forever ago. So much has changed. We'll watch that video in a second. Should we just watch it? Let's see here. Full screen? Guess we... How do I put that? Oh, apparently there's no audio on the video. Let's see here. Can you hear this video, Mike?
I cannot.
No? I'm sitting here watching the video and not even running audio. Let's see here. There's a way we can fix that. Let's see. You have any video audio now? Are you able to hear that? Do we have audio on this video? Negative. That's unfortunate. How do we put through audio? I feel like this is a good video. I want to show it. How do we actually get the screen share to come up through? Share a video file from your computer. No, I don't want to do that. This is interesting that we don't have the ability to put the audio through. Start watching it on YouTube. Do you guys have that audio? You getting any audio now?
Negative.
Still no audio, huh? All right, we'll figure that out. In the meantime, let's see.
But I mean, it's like situations like that, and that really helped was which that's out towards the east, and it's an organization called Catch a Lift, veterans dealing with combat wounded veterans, from veterans that are dealing with they're you back into that gap. They're double amputees. They're freaking kicking ass at life. I mean, it just
what's it
shows
called?
that pushing forward.
Catch. We'll pull it up here in a second. Only pull that down. Catch a lift, right? Catch a lift. Fitness for veterans. Let's see here. Catch a lift. Changing bodies, healing minds, saving lives. Granted fitness programs nationwide. Mentally, physically healing veterans one by one. Have you participated in this program?
Yes, I have. I've talked to a couple of the kind of, they're just amazing, you know. One of the guys,
And you had a good
Smith,
experience.
yes. One is Jason Smith. He's his legs, and he's competed in the Warrior Games just in Florida.
Interesting. Idea of weight loss.
Different organizations, and that's I would love upon it before, but you know, the fact is that a lot of these organizations out there will give you, it's like, listen, whether it's or like a good go to, it's like the it's like the festival where everybody goes get their free whatever. But one thing I noticed with a lot of these was the guidance. Freaking gave guidance, and the doctors working their way up to building up to the veterans. So.
I wish we had audio. I would watch these videos because I feel like they would be very interesting. I don't understand why we don't get audio through the screen share. Let me try one. I'll try one more time. Any audio on that?
Nope.
Man, that's unfortunate. I'm kind of sad that we're not able to watch these videos on stream. Let me see if there's a audio. Stereo audio input. I don't actually know the way to do this. Yeah, I don't know. Hey, Carlos, we got any idea why we can't play any audio on the screen share? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe Carlos will be able to figure it out in the background.
If not, you
so these guys. I mean, okay. So section. What's that?
So if not, you can just drop.
Oh, that's true. Here we can put the. I mean, so these are the videos we're looking at. Here and here. I mean, you guys can see it on the screen, but I'll send you the links. So this organization, Dark Horse Lodge, I mean, this is kind of a cool concept, right? They created this retreat for veterans. And I'm sorry, you were kind of cutting out, Mike. Have you been to this place, or you just know about it?
Well, I want to shoot down the people that started this. next, like, and they're a great group of individuals, you know, for
Mm-hmm.
in memory of their son in Afghanistan. Much trying to end the you know the or the veterans and the other veterans that are dealing with, and it's they offer like a gift, have like rooms for and the bunks for their families. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the veterans come together, and they're gonna bring like psychologists and stuff, like host groups through problems. You know, just to get some of that camaraderie,
Mm-hmm.
work through some things to
So
like to
you feel
strengthen
that
your bond.
the camaraderie is a big component of recovering as a veteran.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly don't disagree here, based on my own experience. Let me see. Let's see here. No audio. Carlos is giving me tech support on the side. Let's see what he has to say. Volume up on the computer. Yep, volume, blah, blah, blah. Share audio. Clicked. When you share the screen. Aha! Oh, see? This is why we pay Carlos the big bucks. I think he figured it out, my friends. We've got video with audio now. All right, let's see. Let's go back to this video then. Okay, so this is well, actually, before I speak, let's see if we have audio first.
The current situation is a dire one.
Do we have video confirmed? Can you hear this, Mike?
My countrymen are men and women are taking their own lives.
Do we have confirmed audio there, Carlos? I don't want to keep running it if we don't have audio. Should pull up my, hold on a second. Yeah, okay. Carlos is confirmed. Audio is working. Sorry, I couldn't see Carlos's message. All right, let's bring it back up. Let's watch this video. So this is from Dark Horse Lodge talking about their program over in, where are they located in? Kentucky, I think they said?
Tennessee.
Tennessee. They're in Tennessee. Okay.
Far more than died in combat. And for us, it's unacceptable. I'm Kirk Catherwood.
My name is Gretchen Catherwood. I am the Gold Star mother of Lance Corporal Alec E. Catherwood. I am dedicating the rest of my life to raising money and running Dark Horse Lodge. This is for combat veterans of every branch of service, from every war and conflict, men, women of every age, who will be able to come together and share experiences. Just a safe place for them to communicate with others, and give them a place to go fishing on Kentucky Lake and enjoy activities in the West Tennessee area. After Alec was killed, we were at the remembrance ceremony, and we saw the looks in those men's eyes. We could see that the pain that they felt, and we definitely noticed that there was communication going on between the Marines that was not including the family members. One of them actually said, "This is the first time I've been able to talk about that day." And I thought, okay, what if Alec had come home? What would he have faced? Who would have been there for him? So right then was the affirmation I needed. I realized, since I can't do this for Alec anymore, what can I do for those who did come home?
We know as humans that it's good to connect with one another, but you go there with ideals of your flag and independence and freedom, and it becomes the guy next to you. Most combat veterans do not want to speak with somebody that hasn't traveled in their boots. So Gretchen's idea for Dark Horse Lodge is right on the mark for me as a combat veteran. When the things start flying over your head and then back over the other way, it becomes I just want to get my buddy home.
They've had to do things that they don't want other people to know about, and we're not doing enough when they get home. It's like knocking your head against the wall trying to deal with the VA, and so many of these veterans, they're simply given drugs. They're given prescriptions and sent on their way. We're there when they're in, when they're active duty, but when they get out is when I believe they need the most care and they need the most benefits, and that's where we are falling so short of the mark in our country.
We think they're better off together than apart.
Tim was with the Army National Guard in 2005, a dear friend of ours, son, and after coming home from Iraq and suffering the effects of some pretty severe PTSD, had taken his life on Thanksgiving Day. Tim was far too young. He had far too much promise.
Because he took his life on Thanksgiving Day, we know that many celebrations in our country and others are had over food. It will bring people together and learn about him and each other.
Bowman Hall is after Tim, and we couldn't think of a better way to honor him and his family. Welcome to Bowman Hall.
That's cool.
This is
So they
Dark
like
Horse
make
Lodge's
different buildings
pride
and
and
name
joy
them after
thus
different,
far. This is our progress.
Yeah.
This
And
is what
all
we are
their-
so excited about.
all their-
In the
all their
mornings
bunks
after
built-
breakfast, our
built
guests
killed
will
at
come to
35.
our what we call our fishing store and grab their bait.
What was that? All the bunks?
All the bunks are named at all that were killed
Wow.
in action.
Jeez.
And tackle and gear that they will use throughout the day out on the lake. In this room here, this is our dining room. This is the main deal. This is where we will have breakfast and dinner. Around the cabin outside, we will have a deck that runs the length of the building here and the width of the building here, overlooking the beautiful woods and the guest cabins that are right in front of this building. We really are super
Incredible
excited
space.
to begin this journey. I see veterans sitting on the deck, laughing, enjoying each other's company. I see caregivers that will have a place in the staff cabins. We will be building bridges going across the streams. We will be putting in trails that will go back to the beautiful woods, and we're just getting started.
Aside from the other activities in the lodge, I could drown a worm once in a while with the boys on a boat. We'll enjoy many good times, I'm sure.
We've heard so many times from veterans saying, you know what, we could use 10 of these in every state. We take calls, which, let me tell you, is one of the most heartbreaking things I've experienced to date, is to get a phone call from a woman who is in tears saying, how do I make reservations for my husband? Because he needs this really bad. Or I get a message through Facebook from a veteran who says, how do I make reservations? Because man, I could really use this. And I have to tell those people no. That is heartbreaking. And there's a hole in my heart that will never be filled up. But to think that that hole can get bigger is almost impossible. But when I take those phone calls, that hole gets a little bit bigger because we are not able to help that person just yet. We're gonna get there. But how long is it gonna take us to get there, and who is gonna suffer in the meantime? One day, we're gonna be super excited to be able to say yes. We thank you so much for your time in watching and listening and learning about Dark Horse Lodge. We need your help. We need your support. You can have a part of your heart at Dark Horse Lodge that will really tell our veterans that you care.
It's not the Catherwood, it's the fact that America cares. And you're invited to Springville, Tennessee to anytime you want to look at the lodge, know it's there, know we're building it. Any donation is greatly appreciated. Its citizens make up the Republic, and we're losing 20 citizens a day. Consider that for a moment, won't you?
Wow. I don't know, man. I don't think we can wait.
for sure. A lot of ground.
I feel like we've been talking this is talking more from the leadership of our nonprofit organization. We've been wanting to be involved in helping veterans more. Understand, we are an organization committed to improving brain and spine health. And to me, where does that start other than with our veterans? Well, I think we got to find a way to move faster and be more involved. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but if these people can pick up and just start building a lodge in the middle of Tennessee to help people, I mean, what am I doing?
It's just is that it just needs, if you can find more people in guidance. These veterans are coming back. From myself too is like naval healthcare. Questioning yourself and going. Cause you hear like those tales of people, and like the first thing I know was big when it's like, oh, you get diagnosed with PT, your guns and all that stuff again. There was a big like that was a big like taboo thing, and I was like, oh, you're never gonna be alone on this whatnot. Thing, I was like, but and maybe have that guidance and be like, hey man,
yeah,
this is the route we should be taking. A care facilitator, but these are all your appointments. This the actual medical background, not just, but someone with an actual, you are.
Yeah, I mean, I think
stay the.
I mean, in so many ways, I feel like I've just been. What's that?
No, I was going to say when it's certain medication too, feeling different.
Yeah. I mean, I
making me feel different, or is it that's making me feel different? If you had that advocate and a medical background to be like, hey, just outlet to be like, this, this just stay the course or freaking, route, and we should try a different route. But it's point where it's like when I'm in the medical system, I was like, hey, and some kind of issues with some medication, switch it up, send you a different route, not even like let it take its course, not helping you through it. It was just hey, put you on something else, that put it on something else.
I mean, I think you're right. I think that honestly, maybe I don't want to say like I blame myself, but I definitely feel like I've been running so fast, trying to stay focused on a career after the Marine Corps, that it's time to just like turn around and be like, wait a second. How do I reconnect with all these guys that I shared this experience with and use what God has given me in this point in my life to help you all? And I think that's going to be the future of at least what Braden Spine Group's doing. It has to
what they say though, that one saying though is to the top of the mountain, which it's reach, put your hand down for the get them up.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that doing this live streams kind of helped us reconnect. It's helped reconnect with some other guys too.
For sure.
It honestly brings us, it's just an avenue to reconnect us all a little bit more. And Brandon Spine Group is going to, or I am personally going to put things together very quickly. I think help bring our community a little bit tighter to advocate for all of you, because I think that's the least that we can do. And I think you're completely right. You know, who are you going to trust? Well, just like they said, right? Veterans want to talk to other veterans. They don't want to talk to other doctors, right? But you still need doctors. And I think veteran doctors is such a small niche individual that if we can bring together veteran doctors that veterans are willing to talk to and trust, even not as their doctor, as their almost like translator, right? Helping them understand what their doctors are telling them, I think would be very powerful for
100% right.
veterans.
100% right.
So we're going to work on that. I'm actually really excited about it. I think it's going to make a difference. It will. But anyway, now that our audio's working, I'm going to watch this video for Catch a Lift. I think Catch a Lift is interesting to me. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about, Catch a Lift, there's so many positive things about it, right? The psychiatric improvements that happen with physical fitness, which my wife is probably laughing hysterically at right now, because I've been like so far off the bandwagon with my physical fitness since getting out. And I used to work out all the time. Ask anybody from engineer platoon. I was always out running every single lunch break. Now, I don't know. My wife will laugh because she's always telling me to go out for a run, and I don't. But I mean, you have psychiatric improvements with fitness, not to mention the physical improvements when you're dealing with like back injuries. I mean, obviously weight-bearing exercise can exacerbate some military injuries, but I think by and large, you're looking at, these types of things adding value. I don't know. It's just this is what I love, like learning about these like veteran nonprofit organizations, is how I'm certain everything is started with like a veteran's passion, right? Like, how did Catch a Lift start? Honestly, it was probably, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll find out more when we kind of watch this little video about them. Probably, I'm guessing some veteran or veteran adjacent family that loves working out was basically like, hey, this would be great for helping veterans recover. And then they started a nonprofit organization. Same thing with this, whatever, Dark Horse Lodge. In many ways, same thing with Brain and Spine Group. I was just like on this path of like learning how to be a brain doctor. And I was like, well, how do I be a brain doctor and help veterans? And then the Brain and Spine Group starts. I don't know. People are very creative when it comes to finding different ways to help veterans. Do you think it's an issue getting veterans plugged in? Like veterans that need help are not as good as they could be at seeking the help that's available or taking advantage of help that's available? I mean, I'm prone to that. I feel like my brother's prone to that. My brother's always calling me like this, and that. And I'm like, don't you have like benefits at the VA or, call this place or that place? He's like, well, whatever. Right. I mean, I'm the same way. I don't take advantage of the help that I even have.
It's the veteran mentality, though.
What's that?
First, I said, you got to get over your ego first.
Yeah.
None of us want to help because we all want to be Superman.
Do you think it's easier to overcome ego, or do you think ego plays a larger role in veteran to veteran communications? Like, do you think there's more of like a component of, I don't want to seem weak when speaking with another veteran compatriot, or do you think we're more willing to let our guard down with other veterans, and that's why you need other veterans to talk to?
Tone though. I mean, once you get one leader to break that, be vulnerable to what open up that door. Every other veteran that's trying to be like everybody knows that one dude. Well, I had this story, and this happened. It's like, hey man,
Yeah.
what, rough time, it's a door for somebody else. But it just takes them to be like, in the group, to be like, you know what, it sucked. But once you realize,
I mean, opening lines of communications between veterans is key.
It is.
Should we watch this Catch a Lift video and see what they're all about? Obviously, you know these organizations better than I do, but this is like the first I'm really diving into these organizations. Let's see. Catch a Lift.
We were coming back from a mission. We'd come up to an intersection or a choke point, and I sent a team around to clear a road while I moved up to try to clear the intersection. And I stepped on an IED.
I do recall one of the doctors there saying, "It's okay, you can go to sleep." When I woke up out of my coma, I was not the most friendly person. I thought I was going to lose a lot of friends. People see me now, and they don't realize the struggle that I had to get to where I am right now.
Lift.
Catch a Lift takes a very holistic approach. Let's get you back into fitness. And as you're physically healing, you're going to start to feel better. You're going to start to be who you are, who you want to be. I feel in my soul that my brother's death brought life to other people. These men and women served us so selflessly. And I believe the roles are reversed. Now we have to fight for them.
I'm now slower than I used to be. Those thoughts creep into your head. Through organizations like Catch a Lift, you start thinking, okay, This is just an injury. I can overcome this. I may be slower now, but I won't be slower tomorrow.
Catch a lift. That's what he said. Every day to anyone, he'd say, hey mate, I'm gonna catch a lift, then I'll catch up with you. I'm gonna hit the gym, I'm gonna catch a lift.
It's the simple things. Honestly,
See, and it's boot camp. It starts.
they started a boot camp.
Started like with boot camp with anybody. You know, it starts with basics to start. You know,
Yeah.
health. You know, grounding, the grounding arm, and then
I mean, you're right. I mean, it's literally, it's not complicated. Connection, taking care of yourself, spiritually, physically.
you know, in the Marine Corps, we're fixing the problem and making sure we get the mission done, or task, or whatever set out. Come back to it at any cost.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one thing I have, it's like in the EMS world, they instill in like EMT is you can't treat those from medical facility if you become the patient yourself first. You can't even basic life if you don't think you're going to be that good husband. How you,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
If you can't, if you're not taking care of yourself.
Yeah. No, you're right. You know, you can't do your job if you're not fit to do it. And, you know, it's on us as, and this is kind of going back to what we were saying about the importance of the team, right? You can't rely on the injured individual to advocate for themselves. The injured individual can't pull themselves out of the game, right? Whether you're a football player, veteran, and that's where the community comes in. The teammates, the health staff, the whoever, family. Doesn't, I mean, pick anybody that's adjacent to an injured individual. They all have a role in helping that person and telling them that they don't have a choice. They need to be pulled out of the fight, and they need to be they're going to get help, because like you know, we've talked about this, right? Marines don't want to be pulled out of the fight. They want to be with the team. Professional athletes don't want to be pulled out of the game. They want to be with the team. It's this, you know, pit bull mentality. And when you're allowed to just exist with that mentality for so long, it's, you know, it takes its toll. No one's exempt from that tax. So we are a little over the hour, and one of the things we're doing is we're trying to, make Brain and Spine Group Live, the best and most productive experience possible. We're sort of trying to keep it a little more spontaneous as opposed to, really rigidly prepared topics for the shows. We want it to be more relatable and casual, I guess is a good way to put it. We're also going to try to, lower the live time closer to like an hour time frame. So if you have any like burning questions for Mike, you just want to say, thank him for being on the show today, go ahead and leave them in the comments. If you have questions, we'll read them out. We'll get them answered. We're not in a rush to get anything to go anywhere, but we will start to take some sort of final questions. And while we wait for some questions to come in, I do just want to hit on a couple updates that I mentioned at the beginning of the stream. But if you came in throughout, you may have missed it. Starting next week, we will be streaming starting at 7 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We started at live at noon today. We'll be live at noon again on Thursday. On Thursday, we're talking about some new research that was published talking about a new population of neurons that were basically discovered in the recovery of spinal cord injury, which I think is kind of fascinating. And so there's a really high-level science paper, like an official scientific article that was published last month, sort of discussing this discovery. And obviously this discovery is, while it's not a smoking gun, it's a key part of furthering solutions for patients with spinal cord injury, which is obviously a significant injury in the world of injuries that affect veterans. So obviously near and dear to our hearts, we're going to be diving into some of that research on Thursday at noon. And then just to reiterate, the following week, starting Tuesday in December, we're going to be live every evening at 7 p.m. So we'll be moving the show time to 7 p.m. Any last comments, questions, anything you want to talk about, Mike? I know we've had some audio issues that have made the conversation a little challenging, but we did overcome. Anything you want to say? Questions you have for me?
No, it's just all good. I have a couple questions for you, but know that what I would have liked from coming back and being just to maybe we had long journey to be like, hey, it doesn't you. Let's make it short. Anything that you want in life is for us,
Mm-hmm.
System for us. So let's newer veterans, and anybody dealing with spine-related injuries, it's shorter for them to not have to put it in and maybe advocate for them in the right direction. I do have a question though for you though. What's your opinion on RT for injuries and stuff? Because I know with a lot of things was even coming out of the testosterone levels and how that plays an effect on mental stability.
You were saying, sorry, you were cutting out a little bit, so I don't know if I got the full question. You said, what's my opinion on HRT?
Just hormone replacement therapy, brain
you're
injuries,
saying like hormone replacement therapy? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So, there's when I was trying to think of the best way to say this, because at the end of the day, right, we don't want to think about medicine. I'm like, what's your opinion on it, right? Technically, my opinion shouldn't really matter when you're talking about like medicine, like medical treatment. The question should be, what does the data show and does the data support it? There is, but then there's also, for a lot of scenarios, there's not going to be data to necessarily support something. And you, as a physician, you tend to rely more on like, does it make clinical sense? And what is the potential trade-off? For example, if something that does not have data to support that it's useful, you have to ask yourself, is there a risk incurred with this potential treatment? And if the benefit is unknown, but the risk profile is known to be very minimal, then generally as a physician, we can say, well, we don't have data to say it's definitely helpful, but I'm comfortable with you choosing to self-experiment or trial as a patient because I'm not concerned that it could potentially harm you, right? It may not help you, but I'm comfortable that it shouldn't harm you. That's one category I put a lot of my responses in when talking to, because honestly, patients will ask you all the time, what about this? What about that? What about this? And really all you can say is like, I have this small toolbox of things where I can say like, the data tells me like, this is good for you or this is bad for you. That's a fraction of all the different things out there. And patients come in all the time and they're like, well, what about this? What about that? And that's where you just have to put things in the category of like unknown benefit, low risk profile, or unknown benefit, high risk profile, in which case I would say I really would not dabble in such a thing. Now, so that's sort of like, how do you answer a question like yours when you're talking about something that you don't have great data for? The other question is, or the other thing to consider is like, is there like a biological plausibility for it? And in the case of hormone replacement therapy, I think there's a very good biological plausibility, right? You're injuring the brain, especially in a blast wave injury, which from data or from what I've read, right? I'm going to phrase this very carefully because I am, like I said, I'm an enthusiast on these topics. I am not an expert. So what I say should not be taken as like gospel truth. Right. From what my understanding of what we know about blast injury is that because it is not an acceleration injury, like a motor vehicle accident is an acceleration injury. A blast injury is a pressure gradient injury. So to my understanding, the damage to the brain is believed to most likely translate in a blast through pretty much like through the face, like basically the holes in the face, your eyes, your nose, your sinuses, your ears, all these things have very small holes that make their way into the brain itself, right? The nerves that allow you to hear have to this makes sense. They have to somehow, like those nerves that allow you to hear have to somehow get into your brain, right? So there must be there are very small anatomical holes from your ears all the way into the brain. Same thing with the eyes, your ability to see, right? Those nerves that allow you to see have to connect to the brain, right? So there's holes in the back of your eye sockets that allow nerves and all these types of things that control your eye movements and to get back into the brain. And then obviously you're a very complex system of sinuses in the face that communicate into basically the base of the skull, where you get small holes, if you will, into the cranial cavity, right? And it's believed that the pressure from a blast goes through these holes, and the fluid air interface between the brain and these sinuses is where how blast injury translates into pressure gradients inside the brain that cause mechanical destruction of neurons, right? So it's a complex explanation. But the point is that when that type of injury occurs, right? Your pituitary gland, that part of your brain that controls a lot of these hormones, sits basically like behind the nose. Like that's why like pituitary surgery very oftentimes, like when you need to do surgery on the pituitary gland, the part of the a significant part of the brain that controls these hormones that you're talking about, right? We very often do surgery on this part of the brain through the nose. So if you imagine we can stick surgical instruments up your nose, drill a hole into the bone in the back of your nose to get into the part of your brain where basically a lot of the hormone control is. Think about a blast wave coming through the nasal sinuses and impacting, what part of the brain is it going to make contact with and likely injure? Probably parts of the brain that control hormones. So I think it's hard to say like anything definitively in this situation, but I think there's enough that you can take enough logical steps to piece together a biological story of why, there would be damage to parts of the brain that regulate hormones. And when you're dealing with, when the brain's ability to regulate hormones is damaged, how do we treat that? Well, we treat it with hormone replacement. Very what we call, when patients have brain surgery and they need a part of their brain that controls hormones operated on, and sometimes you cannot preserve those parts of the brain entirely, right? And so after surgery, after pituitary surgery, a patient may develop hormone deficiencies. And the way we treat those are by replacing hormones. And patients feel really off if they're, hormonally imbalanced. Now, I'm not an endocrinologist. I do not claim to be an endocrinologist, nor do I expect to ever become an endocrinologist. But generally speaking, when you have a hormone deficiency, the treatment is to replace it. And so I think it's mechanistically plausible that blast injuries would cause damage to parts of the brain that control hormone secretion. And I think replacing those hormones, if you are lacking hormones, is a very typical medical treatment for pituitary deficiency, at least in my experience. I could be wrong about any or all of those things, but from my experience, that's how I would think about it, unless an expert explained it to me in another way. So I know you were kind of in and out there, Mike. Did that give you a little bit of clarity about that in answering your question? Oh, hang on. There you are. You back?
Am I here?
Yeah, you're here. Did you catch any of that explanation? I know you were sort of in and out.
Yeah, I caught all that. It was extremely popular in the trends right now. It's like CrossFit was in a couple years ago. For a lot of veterans, it's like right now it's where it's like their go-to now. I just wanted to get your perspective on to branch upon, physicians.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the question I would have is like, what are you replacing? To be honest, like what specifically is being replaced? If it's testosterone, truthfully, I don't know. I'm not an endocrinologist. Now, if you're talking about
for sure
some other hormone secreted by the pituitary gland, which is what, at least in my clinical training, my limited clinical training, what I dealt with more, because obviously neurosurgeons they operate on the pituitary gland. I mean, in general, right? If a patient's cortisol is low and, it's a central cause, right? Not, we generally just, you treat that by replacing cortisol. So, if you're having a hormone imbalance that is centrally, so when I say central, basically means like from the brain, right? Because you can have hormone imbalances that are from basically the part of damage to the part of the brain that controls hormones, or you can have some hormones can be imbalanced because the organ outside the brain that actually produces the hormone is messed up. That's like kind of the two simple ways to explain how hormones can get messed up. Because the brain's like the control center, right? There are some hormones that are secreted directly by the brain, but there's also hormones that are secreted by other parts of the body. And the brain just like controls the on off switch to like tell that part of the body to secrete more or less hormone. And so when you have a hormone imbalance, you typically, when you're talking about diagnosing these things, you have to think like, is this a problem that's coming from the brain, i.e. central is what we call it, or is it like a peripheral problem outside the brain? Anyway, obviously we're getting into like some really technical stuff, but obviously that's where I can tend to ramble, given my background. But anyway, any other questions? If not, Mike, thanks so much for being with me today. Thanks for doing the show again. We'll definitely have to have you back because we got tons of stuff in terms of advocating for veteran brain health coming in the pipeline that I think you and I will enjoy working on together. We'll do plenty of more live streams to tell the world about it and get the word out about these things. And so with that, I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. We'll see you Thursday at noon, and then next week, our streams will start at 7 p.m. next week. So thank you all for being with us, and have a good rest of your day, okay? We'll see you Thursday.